Hello, welcome to Notts Today with me, Al. Happy Friday. I hope you're well. Almost at the weekend, almost at Christmas as well, but there's loads to do before that. So let's tell you what's on the show, shall I? Right, we're going to see how virtual reality technology is fulfilling dreams of people at a Notts hospice.
When she first had to go on the VR, and she could move her right arm at that point, and she was trying to stroke other dolphins or whatever that she was with. But now obviously it's more of a relaxation.
And we've got some great guests on the sofa as well, including a really interesting study by University of Nottingham researchers into the global impact of forced marriage. We're going to explore that in just a second, and we'll show you Santa Claus jumping out of a plane. Yeah, that is absolutely right. It happened this week at Skydive Langer. We're going to show you more on that video later, and why it happened. Presumably training for if the sleigh goes down, but we'll find out. We're also going to meet the Forest fan who's written a book about the club's very eventful last 3 seasons. Reds mad Steve Parker's chronicled the club's rise into the Premier League and their fight to stay there, and is telling us all about it later on. And that will kick off a sport roundup, which also features the club's head coach Nuno Espirito Santo ahead of their trip to Brentford.
The resilience is something that the players have by themselves. And the belief that they can trust each other to overcome obstacles.
There you go, absolutely packed then. First though, researchers at the University of Nottingham and Liverpool University have worked together to create a new database looking at marriage laws around the world. Now this found that although every country has agreed to eliminate child, early and forced marriage, 99% of countries are yet to comprehensively tackle the issue. Well, here now to tell us more is Associate Professor in Political Theory, Dr. Helen McCabe, and Rights Lab Associate Director, Dr. Katarina Schwartz. Hello, thank you for coming in. So just tell us about your research, first of all. What led to this?
Well, forced marriage and child early and forced marriage are a massive human rights violation across the world. UN estimates that 640 women and girls were married before the age of 18 and 22 million people probably in a forced marriage somewhere across the world just in 2021. So we're working as part of the Rights Lab to tackle that. The Rights Lab is dedicated to ending modern slavery by 2030 in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, and this is one key area that we're really looking at the law on as a first step to try and understand how the world's doing in meeting that target that you mentioned of eradicating it by 2030.
Okay, so in terms of global law then, obviously it's going to vary from nation to nation. How are we in the UK?
So the UK has some pretty specific laws that are good according to our measures, but still more to be done. So there are crimes established in UK law which bring it further than a lot of other countries, but there's a lot of work to do, especially around implementation of those laws. We know, for instance, that the number of cases investigated in the UK is far outstripped by the scale of the problem here.
Okay. What about suppose any country that would surprise us, the statistics anyway that we just read, but what countries was the most surprising when you were looking at the research?
Yeah, so we've actually tracked all 193 UN member states. It's a lot of countries and a lot of law to look at. And what we've really found is that there is no country in the world that's really comprehensively tackling this problem and taking it as seriously as it deserves. You know, as Helen said, it's 640 million women and girls in the world being subjected just only to child and early marriages. So the scale of the problem is massive, and yet no country is really comprehensively addressing it. And we've found, for instance, that there's 41% of all countries in the world, 4 in 10, haven't established legal sanctions for forcing someone into a marriage at all. And in a really large number of countries, up to 119 countries, you can actually marry a child under the age of 18, sometimes because the standard minimum age is under 18, and sometimes because countries establish these exceptions that allow you to marry a child, for instance, with parental consent. But that's really an issue because in many cases it's actually the parents of a child that are forcing them into marriages. So there's a lot of work to do on countries' legislation, and we wouldn't single out any one country. We'd say every country in the world has work to do to really take this problem as seriously as it deserves. It's
and this isn't a journalistic term as such. It's mad to think that happens. It's archaic, isn't it? Really? I mean, so, you carried out the research, obviously you've got the facts and figures. How do you then take this to make sure something happens then? No pressure.
So we're actually working really closely with some wonderful advocacy organisations that work on the ground in lots of different countries to take the findings from this study and translate that into advocacy work with governments, but also into programming on the ground to help bring women and girls and some men and boys who are also subjected to forced marriages out of these situations and prevent more from being subjected to them. So we're working really closely in the UK with a charity called Karma Nirvana, and then globally with Girls Not Brides and Walk Free to take this forward, to try and design new laws and new ways of tackling the problem, and then to help people escape these situations and also prevent it from happening again in the future.
And just here in the UK, Karma Nirvana led a quite recent campaign to raise the age of consent for marriage. It used to be 16 with parental consent, now it's 18. No question about parental consent in England and Wales, but it's still 16 without any question of parental consent in Scotland, and it's 16 with parental consent in Northern Ireland. So even here, there's like difficulties in the law that mean that people are getting married under the age of 18 completely legally.
Which are children?
Right, children,
If you're
yeah.
16, you're a child, aren't you?
Yeah. And Karma Nirvana dealt with 173 cases in the year after the law changed. So it's obviously just the change in the law hasn't made it go away, but it's maybe more a focus for people noticing it, although they're also concerned people don't understand the law has changed in this country.
Right,
And of course it's only changed in England and Wales.
Can people watching as at home, can we do anything to influence this? Can we make a change?
Can't probably change the law in Scotland because we're living here in Nottingham, but definitely be aware that Karma Nirvana exists as a helpline. They are the national helpline for forced marriage and honour-based abuse. It'd be great if people knew their number, if people had a poster. If you just Google them, they will send you, like there'll be a contact domestic, send you a kind of a poster put up in the office, but also their number's there. Or you can email them if you've got any concerns. I think that is the real thing. It's about understanding the law here, understanding that this is an issue that happens in this country as well as happening globally, and being more aware that people you know might be at risk, and then that if you are worried about somebody, then you should call the National Helpline because they are always happy to talk through your concerns. And it's better to have taken some action and ring somebody than to not have.
Absolutely. That's such an eye-opener. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Right, let's move on now. Let's have a look at how a Notts hospice has been providing care that's almost out of this world. It's the John Eastwood Hospice in Ashfield. It's become one of the first in the East Midlands to start using virtual reality headsets to support patients and residents. The devices have helped to provide comfort to people and their families, and the tech allows them to become immersed in a whole new world. Jack Sims has found out more.
VR technology. For most, it's a form of entertainment. But for residents and patients at the John Eastwood Hospice in Sutton and Ashfield, these headsets are helping them see sights they've always dreamed of. For the past 18 months, the Live Well Centre staff have been providing patients with the devices. It's from a Netherlands-based company, Sync VR Medical, who want to develop medical practices through virtual reality. These two headsets were purchased through the charity's trust after wanting to bring more modern technology for younger people to use. But now it's being used by patients of all ages, helping to provide a state of calm and relaxation without medication, as well as improve physical abilities such as stretching. And for loved ones, the technology has allowed their relatives to experience lifelong dreams, such as those of Janet Jones and her husband Denzel. Janet has a rare neurological condition called corticobasal degeneration syndrome. This means she can no longer move or speak, but remains cognizant, and these headsets have allowed her to see things she wouldn't get the chance to experience.
When Jan was diagnosed about 8 years ago, we did the normal thing of doing a bucket list, and one of the things on Jan's bucket list was that she wanted to swim with dolphins. So we scrimped and saved about £7,000 and we booked a trip to Orlando and swim with dolphins, and COVID hit and completely stopped it. And after another year, Jan's condition had worsened to the point that we weren't able to go anyway. But through the VR, she was still able to effectively swim with dolphins. When she first had a go on the VR, it was noticeable she could move her right arm at that point, and she was trying to stroke other dolphins or whatever that she was with. But now obviously it's more of a relaxation. She can take it all in and just gradually go to another world.
And for the staff, the headsets could be a vision to the future of care without an over-dependence on medicine.
We've used it with patients that have been sort of having dressing changes, who've needed quite a lot of pain medication, and then over time they've been able to reduce the medication that they've been taking.
For people to be able to travel wherever they've wanted to travel, do things like going underwater that they've experienced before, that might be that last time that they do that, and create those lasting memories with families.
The Living Well Centre is hoping to research more into the use of VR in the new year. This, they hope, will provide more people with care that is almost out of this world. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Now let's have a look at some more of your news headlines. And a rapist who abused a vulnerable teenager will spend the next decade in jail. Detectives have praised the bravery of the victim for helping to expose the crimes of 48-year-old Justin Burton. His sexual abuse took place in June this year and became apparent a day afterwards, thanks to the victim telling police what happened. Burton, of no fixed address, denied charges of rape and sexual assault, but was found guilty after a trial at Nottingham Crown Court. He was jailed for 10 years and placed on the sex offenders register for life. And police will hold a day of action on Monday to clamp down on the use of illegal e-scooters in the city. Officers will stop riders of privately owned scooters and explain their use in public areas is illegal unless it's used under a government-approved scheme. The day of action, called Operation Wrangle, will involve beat teams patrolling the streets trying to find illegal riders, and comes after officers seized more than 250 similar e-scooters over the past 3 years. Now, still to come on the show, we are going to be hearing all about a book chronicling the last 3 years of a very eventful Nottingham Forest life, and we'll have a bumper sports roundup for you as well. Hello, welcome back to Friday's show with me, Al Booth. Thank you for being here. This is what's happening in Notts today, and East Midlands leaders will be given more than £75 million to tackle what the government describes as the scourge of potholes. The government describes it as the scourge, I don't, I say scourge. The East Midlands Combined Authority is led by Mayor Claire Ward, and it's going to get the cash to tackle broken roads across Nottingham, Nottinghamshire, Derby and Derbyshire next year. It's all aimed at increasing money for road maintenance by about 50% last year, with the Mayor now responsible for distributing money to the region's county and city authorities to fix more potholes. Now, public consultations opened on plans to build more than 2,000 homes, a school, a local centre and other facilities at Tollerton Airfield. Rushcliffe Borough Council is giving people until the end of January to give their views on the plans, which were originally submitted by applicant Taylor Wimpey. There are various applicants across the land, though the council says there's no full master plan for homes across the wider site. Plans can't come forward until this has been created by the consortium of different developers. Now, before we get into your sports roundup ahead of a busy weekend of sport, we're going to meet a Forest fan of more than 60 years who's written a new book all about the Reds, and it's all about their last 3 seasons, and they've been quite eventful. From the very bottom of the Championship, when Steve Cooper took over, to now sitting 4th in the Premier League above champions Manchester City. I'm pleased to say Stephen Parker, the man behind Football Land, is here now to tell us all about it. Hi Steve, thanks for coming on. So Forest, we all know that the history of Forest and the well-documented history of Forest, but you've chosen to go for the last 3 years, so why is that in particular?
Well, I've always, every year, wherever I've lived, almost, been able to get to Forest games. Not every one, home and away, but there was a period when I was unable to get to any. And I've always been a bit of a scribbler, not just shopping lists, but all sorts of things. And I took up something again that I used to do in adolescence, and just writing bits of football, bits and bobs on players and teams. And it kind of filled the gap while I was involved in these family commitments. And then a friend suggested, these are quite good. Why don't you send them off somewhere? And I didn't know what to do. And somebody gave me an address for nottinghamsport.com, a local website that allows people in all sorts of sports, to be able to have a voice and contribute. So I sent a couple off, and the man in charge said, carry on. And so that's how it began 3 years ago, coinciding with 3 remarkable seasons. I mean, who could write a better story script than that?
Absolutely. Well, do you know what? In the introduction earlier on, we said, it's from bottom of the Championship and then fighting relegation. But obviously now, not fighting relegation, almost, you're more likely to be considered champion contenders than you are relegation contenders. Has there ever been a period that springs to your mind, apart from the Cloughy years, obviously, of the European champions, ever been a period quite like it?
I'm not sure there has. I mean, it's absolutely electric, and just looking at the scenes there of the crowds, it reminds me again of what it means to the city. There were the great Clough years, the golden years, and there have been occasional successes, years almost owning the League Cup, the occasional FA Cup run. But really, this is, as I say in the book, this is for a new generation. I'm so happy. I mean, I've been through good times and bad times with Forest over decades, but there are so many people of younger generations who, they've seen some good football, occasional playoffs, but this is in a different order. I mean, for a kickoff, the Premiership is the Premier League in the world at the moment, and Forest sit fourth. And you just have to keep saying it. Friends and relations of mine are just taking photos on their phones, just of now, just to actually embed the fact that Forest sit fourth. It's astonishing and brilliant.
It is brilliant, and playing some brilliant football as well, and deserving to be there. And they've been there or thereabouts consistently over. Let's go back to the Steve Cooper era. When Steve Cooper came in, you're looking at staring relegation into League One in the face, really. What are your thoughts on Steve Cooper at the moment? I mean, how obviously Nuno came in, and then everyone was a bit sort of, no one's going to replace Steve Cooper. Nuno's there, but what are your thoughts around Steve Cooper at the moment?
Well, they're very contrasting characters, aren't they? And in their own different ways, they've both got tremendous qualities. And Steve Cooper, when he came in, I mean, he was almost a magician, and the way he turned the team, the club around, and the way he established a relationship with the fans. And there is one of my very, very short chapters. The book is they're all very short chapters, maybe 2-3 pages long, and one of them is contemplating near the end of his reign as the manager, and recognizing the fact that even then, even though Forest were really struggling, he did maintain a warmth amongst the fans. The time probably came when he had to go. I think he'd pretty much run out of ideas. Yeah. And it's a tough old world, and when things go awry, you've got to change it quickly. But I think he is still thought of fondly at Forest. He achieved tremendous things, and we'll never forget that. He got us out of the Championship League, which was a feat in itself.
He did. He kick-started it all, didn't he? Steve, sorry, we're going to have to move on, but quickly, just tell us where we can get your book.
Well, there are 2 local bookshops in Nottingham that have been fantastic with me and support local writers. And one of them sits just off Slab Square, and that's 5 Leaves Bookshop. And the other one is called The Bookcase, and that is in Loudon, just outside Bingham. And they're both fantastic.
Amazing.
All people can contact with me.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much. That's great.
You.
It sounds fascinating. It has been a mad 3 years, hasn't it? Right, let's get back to the now with Forest. Just like Stephen, Forest fans are going to be hoping they can go into Christmas still in that 4th spot. First, they have to go to Brentford at the weekend. Head coach Nuno Espirito Santo said he believes his side's resilience, especially going a goal behind, has really helped this season.
I think it has to do with the growing of the team, understanding the momentums of the game by themselves. I think we felt, I think Newcastle was a lesson for us, and now we should approach games when we are behind the scoreboard. I think against Villa we were really good. We keep our things. We insist on our process and our idea, and thank God it worked out. But the resilience is something that the players have by themselves, and the belief that they can trust each other to overcome obstacles.
In League One, Mansfield Town manager Nigel Clough has marked his 1500th game in management at Charlton at the weekend. They're now preparing to welcome Rotherham to the One Call Stadium tomorrow. It's their first of 5 festive fixtures. Clough reflected on his 1500 games and what's to come for the remainder of his career.
Yeah, it's been a long old time, but hopefully there's another few left to go. Tough, every one. You don't get, especially in this league, you don't get easy games, and no 2 games are ever the same. So still learning, still making mistakes, and still trying to get the best team on the pitch to win a game. Oh, a lot, mainly the players. Over 25 years, but I think that's reflected in society as well. The players of getting sort of 15, 20 lads who'll run through a brick wall for you and for the club and for the supporters and everything. That's getting more difficult to do. We're fortunate here that we've got that, but it's certainly getting more difficult.
In League Two, Notts County are preparing for their first of 5 festive games as well. Bradford City are at Meadow Lane tomorrow. They go into that one winless since the end of October in the league and hoping to lift themselves up from 11th in the table. Speaking ahead of the game, veteran forward David McGoldrick said it's time for the side to start picking up the points.
Players, we knew that it was not a good performance, so we knew we had to come in this week. We had to be bright. There was words said after the game. We've took it into training this week, and we've tried to remain positive and train as hard as we can, because that's where how you get back to getting back to your best is on a training field. So we've took that and we've took everything on board, and we're trying to do our best on the training pitch. We weren't good enough as players. We've got to hold our hands up, and we know we've got a big game Saturday that we've got to rectify it and be better.
In ice hockey, Nottingham Panthers are back in action at the weekend. They're 2 points on offer in the Elite League tomorrow when they face Guildford Flames at the Motor Point. That's the first of 8 fixtures between now and January the 5th, including a Challenge Cup match away at Cardiff on Sunday and a visit to rival Sheffield Steelers on Boxing Day. They go into all those in good form though. Head coach Danny Stewart says he's glad to be playing well ahead of a vital period.
It's such a fine line in this league. It's such a good league. But, those extra goal or two or those extra 1 or 2 plays are making the differences in games, and we're getting those right now. So, it's a good sign that we were able to do that short bench. We're getting some bodies back now. So we just got to get some rest here and then get ramped up for a big weekend next weekend. There for, like I said, big game at home against Guildford, and then a huge cup game, to try and book our place into the semi-finals. So, I think, we always call this the business end of the season, right? And I think any time from now, every game's huge.
It's Nottingham Rugby's penultimate game of the calendar year, not the season, the calendar year. The Archers are 4th in the RFU Championship table. They go to 5th place Hartpury for a kick-off at 2:30 tomorrow. The sides are separated by 3 points. They're relatively well matched though. Hartpury have a game in hand over Nottingham, but a win for the Archers could lift them into 3rd if Bedford lose to 8th place. I can't say it. If they lose to Chinner, they're in 8th. Right, time to take a look at your picture of the day now. This is a beautiful photo. Mike Beard's talk. Look at that, stunning. Now your weather, less stunning. Cloudy but dry. Temperatures are 6. And then the weekend is Saturday and Sunday, a rainy one, unfortunately. Highs of 11 tomorrow, and that's it. Right, we are going to be looking at some charity events coming up next. Hello, welcome back to Notts Today with me, Al. Thank you for being here. I hope you're well. This is what's happening this Friday. Notts councillors have called for no solar farms to be built on rural land near the site of a new renewable energy power station. Senior county councillors want to avoid huge solar farms being built next to the new Step Fusion Energy project. That's at the former West Burton A power station near Retford. The overall development will see the old power plant land turned into an area of clean energy production, but county cabinet members say they don't want this to include solar farm projects because these don't tend to support the creation of jobs. New special educational needs facilities are being developed at 3 Nottingham schools to meet growing demand. Nottingham City Council has approved 3 schemes across Rise Park Primary School, Milford Primary School and Fernwood School to support the creation of new places across the city. That includes a new large classroom and sensory areas at Rise Park. On Milford Primary in Clifton will also have its nursery redevelopment, and Fernwood in Woolerton will get a new freestanding classroom. In total, more than £2 million is being spent. Now, everything is in full swing for the festive season, so if you are letting yourself go and you want to go out tonight, this is how you can start it in earnest. First up, St Mary's Church in the Lace Market. There is the start of The Voice, Nadie Ide. She's singing summer festive songs for all ages at the Winter Light Christmas concert. It starts at 7. Tickets are still available online for that one. Or, keeping in the theme of Christmas bangers, Age Against the Machine are on at the Saltbox Bar tonight. That's next to the Motorpoint Arena. It's for adults only. People aged 30 or older are allowed in. So if you're in your 20s, you're not considered an adult, apparently. Starts at 8. Enjoy that. Finally, the long debated question, is Die Hard a Christmas film? It's a film that's got Christmas in it, but you know. Anyway, if it's one of your favourites, you can catch it tonight at Broadway Cinema. That starts at 8:15. Now, my next guest is here to talk about how one funeral directors in Notts is giving back to the community. A.W. Lim has helped to raise more than £4.5 million in the last 5 years, including almost £400,000 for Nottingham Hospital's charities. That all goes towards the staff and patient care at QMC and City Hospital. Well, joining me now in the studio to talk about their charity work this year is Matthew Lim-Rose, Managing Director at A.W. Lim. Thanks again for coming in. It's always good to see you. So, what's it been like then this year for you?
Well, I mean, the charitable donation piece that we're talking about, I think there are 2 strands to this, and one is that we want to get involved in the community. You know, we provide a service to people at a very difficult, a low time, and here we are at Christmas talking about the joy. And we have to remember that there are families out there that are going through tough, terrible times right now. So all those people that we aim to serve in our communities, we want to find ways to be part of those communities and to help. But not just by doing things ourselves. We actually help facilitate donations that are made in memory of people that have passed away, encouraging people to use the gift aid process so they can increase those donations, and then helping people decide where to channel that money to. So the big national charities are sometimes the go-tos, but actually we prefer to try and say to people, try and keep it local. You know, we're a local business working in our local communities, and for example, the Nottingham University Hospitals Trust, their charitable group is just fantastic, and they do fundraising themselves, and that money goes into the local care given in these local hospitals that really affects and impacts on the families that we care for.
It must be tricky for you when you do events yourself, because most workplaces, if they're doing, and we're going to talk about your abseiling, take wacky selfies and their fun, crazy times and all that. Obviously, where you are and the role you do and the base you have, you can't do that. So how do you approach something like what you've done this year?
It's hard because we want to be respectful. So we did an abseil. A few months ago, we did an abseil down the side.
There you go.
There we are, going down the side of the QMC, and the team were thrilled to do that. But we had a conversation about should I be wearing a top hat? Should we be doing it in a tailcoat? And you do have that dilemma over what's reasonable, what's respectful, and actually. What's going to catch people's attention? Because what we want is people to see that we're doing it and to dig deep and support. That's what it's all about, really. Yeah. And it is hard because sometimes what feels right to one person feels wrong to another, and you have to put yourself in the position of a family, I suppose, that are going through the grieving process, and could we potentially upset and offend them? Yeah. It's a tightrope to walk. We don't always get it right. We've done things before where people have said, well, that isn't really in the right taste. But ultimately, as long as we're doing it for the right reasons, we want to try and support where we can.
That's it, isn't it? I think that is the thing. It's like it all comes from a good place. Of course it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hospital trust next year want to do a skydive. Right. So part of our team are already really excited about that. Might be pushing me a little bit further than my comfort zone allows me. But doing that and having a headline that says, funeral director, jumps out of plane or whatever, it almost gives it a second angle. And hopefully that will raise people's interest, pique their interest in what we're doing. And if it means that they'll support the charity, if it means that some more good can be done, then we're up for helping in any way we can.
Absolutely. So you talk about donations then when people have passed and you're dealing with the funeral and you deal with that side of it. How does that work?
Yeah, we do. So as a company, and not everyone does this, but we handle donation accounts for families. So if you know, in memory of your loved one, you want to collect money for Cancer Research UK, for example, we'll manage the whole process. So we can accept donations online through a partner that we build a website and an online obituary for. We can accept cash on the day of the funeral. We can accept cheques that are posted to us, and we'll deal with all those funds from whatever means, collect them up, facilitate gift aid for people, which hopefully means that they will increase the level of those donations. And to give you an idea, last year, 2023, we helped collate around about £800,000 of charitable donations. So it's a real big amount. And please, I'm not saying that that's money that we've given, because it's not. But we've facilitated people who perhaps, you know, would have thought, this £5 in my pocket, can I give that easily?
Yeah.
No, there's not really a route, so I'll leave it in my pocket. By us saying, actually, you can donate that however you want. You can tap on here, you can cash, you can check.
And that's something they don't have to think about then.
Absolutely.
At such a difficult time. Well, I'll talk to you when you do the skydive next year. Thanks for coming in. You've said it on live TV, that's it now. Right, it's time for another look at your top story now. And as we find out how a Notts Hospice has been providing care that's almost out of this world, the John Eastwood Hospice in Ashfield has become one of the first in the East Midlands to start using virtual reality headsets. Jack Sims explains why.
VR technology. For most, it's a form of entertainment. But for residents and patients at the John Eastwood Hospice in Sutton and Ashfield, these headsets are helping them see sights they've always dreamed of. For the past 18 months, the Live Well Centre staff have been providing patients with the devices. It's from a Netherlands-based company, Sync VR Medical, who want to develop medical practices through virtual reality. These two headsets were purchased through the charity's trust after wanting to bring more modern technology for younger people to use. But now it's being used by patients of all ages, helping to provide a state of calm and relaxation without medication, as well as improve physical abilities such as stretching. And for loved ones, the technology has allowed their relatives to experience lifelong dreams, such as those of Janet Jones and her husband Denzil. Janet has a rare neurological condition called corticobasal degeneration syndrome. This means she can no longer move or speak, but remains cognizant, and these headsets have allowed her to see things she wouldn't get the chance to experience.
When Jan was diagnosed about 8 years ago, we did the normal thing of doing a bucket list. And one of the things on Jan's bucket list was that she wanted to swim with dolphins. So we scrimped and saved about £7,000 and we booked a trip to Orlando and swim with dolphins. And COVID hit and completely stopped it. And after another year, Jan's condition had worsened to the point that we weren't able to go anyway. But through the VR, she was still able to effectively swim with dolphins. When she first had a go on the VR, it was noticeable she could move her right arm at that point and she was trying to stroke other dolphins or whatever that she was with. But now obviously it's more of a relaxation. She can take it all in and just gradually go to another world.
And for the staff, the headsets could be a vision to the future of care without an over-dependence on medicine.
We've used it with patients that have been sort of having dressing changes, who've needed quite a lot of pain medication, and then over time they've been able to reduce the medication that they've been taking.
Those people to be able to travel wherever they've wanted to travel, do things like going underwater that they've experienced before, that might be that last time that they do that, and create those lasting memories with families.
The Living Well Centre is hoping to research more into the use of VR in the new year. This, they hope, will provide more people with care that is almost out of this world. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Right, let's have a look at some more news headlines with you, and we'll stay with health because NHS leaders in Notts have urged people to help their relatives, friends and neighbours at home to free up space in hospitals and care homes. health organisations are working to improve wraparound care for people when they leave hospital, including supporting relatives and friends to help their loved ones at homes so they can go home for Christmas. The NHS says people on average are discharged a day and a half after they're medically fit, and said it's their priority to get people home for the festive period. And police have increased overnight patrols in parts of Rushcliffe in response to car thefts and break-ins. Officers have seen a rise in thefts of high-value cars and home burglaries in recent weeks. They say tackling the issues include keyless car thefts. Specialist crime teams are being deployed on overnight patrols, and neighbourhood police are also doing operations over Christmas and New Year to reduce what they describe as a small rise in type of crime. Right, it is the time for lots of Christmas telly and Christmas films, isn't it? So when we come back, as well as looking at some dogs who are meeting Santa Paws and seeing Santa falling out of a plane, don't worry, it's not scary. We're also going to be talking with our entertainment guru, Gav Squires, about what you can watch on the big and small screen in the next week. Hello, welcome back to Friday's show with me, Al Booth. Thank you for being here. Let's see what's going on, shall we? Iconic Nottingham war rooms dating back to the Cold War could be redeveloped into a major tourism attraction. The abandoned war rooms were built in the 1950s. The facility is one of 17 regional war rooms across England and Scotland to be able to withstand a nuclear strike. So that's some good news. Developers have submitted plans to give them a new lease of life by redeveloping and reimagining the site, as well as creating a community space and designated exhibition spaces, and also 104 homes on land surrounding the Beechdale building. Now, have you ever seen Santa, Rudolph and one of the elves parachuting through the sky? No, of course you haven't, that's ridiculous, but you're about to. This video, showing on your screens right now, was taken at Skydive Langer this week. They left the rest of the reindeers in the sleigh in the North Pole and used a plane to get there, but rather than deliver presents, they chose to skydive as a break from sorting out the naughty and nice list. Having fun, aren't they? Santa said the dive was all about giving the elf and Rudolph a bit of me time over the busy festive period. Those other reindeers aren't going to let him join in any reindeer games now, are they? Right, time for something we've been discussing on the show this month, and that is the cute doggies at Christmas. It was when a Notts shelter spread festivities as it welcomed along Santa to its branch in Blydydd. Pet lovers from around the community brought along their furry friends to Jerry Green's Dog Rescue to enjoy a Christmas afternoon and to raise money for the work the shelter does in supporting hounds without homes. Kira Byrne has got more.
Christmas has come early at this dog rescue in Nottinghamshire as Santa stopped by to greet some furry friends. Dogs and owners from around the county queued up for the annual Santa Paws experience. It's the 4th year running this event, and it has been put on by Jerry Green's Dog Rescue in Blydydd, and all for a good cause too.
It's a chance for the community to come along and for the dogs to come and meet Santa Paws. We've got stalls on, so we've got calendars for sale, we've got a tombola, we've got puppuccinos, all sorts, raffles and all sorts going on. So their donations will go towards lots of things. So winter's coming, the kennels, keeping the dogs warm and cosy. So a lot of costs will go towards that. It'll go towards feeding, and it'll go towards just generally looking after the dogs in our care.
Guests were each invited to have a photo opportunity with Santa for a small fee, as well as to explore various stalls of raffles, tombolas and gifts. Many were keen to show their appreciation for the charity's work, while also enjoying the festivities.
We're looking for a rescue dog, and it's very difficult to find one until we came to Jerry Green's, and we found the perfect dog in Minnie. We want to keep supporting Jerry Green's, and that's why we've come here today.
I've not been before, but I've seen it online and thought, oh, it sounds cute, so I'll give it a go. So I've come with Hattie, and the main reason was to see Santa. So.
Proceeds from the day will help the centre with their ongoing work in rehoming and rescuing dogs in Nottinghamshire. Centre manager Amanda Shaw felt the generosity and support of the community is the success of these events.
Really nice to see that the community coming supporting us back, and it's all for the dogs, looking after these guys in our care. It's what we do. The more we can do, the more money we can raise, the more dogs we can help.
And Father Christmas himself shared his dedication to supporting this cause.
Been very, very active, very busy, and the dogs have loved it. so have the other people around. It's a good, worthwhile charity for looking after dogs and rehoming them, because they're the best thing that can happen. Dogs are for life, not just Christmas.
With the day full of festive spirit, this season of giving brings hope not just for those who've been nice, but for those dogs who've been good boys and girls too. Kira Byrne for Notts TV.
Now, we are only a few sleeps away from Christmas Day, so it is that time of year when there's some great films and TV shows hitting our screens, some really awful ones as well, but they're always good to watch. There's loads of Christmas specials on the way and blockbusters in the cinemas and on streaming platforms, so here to talk through some of what you can watch this Christmas is our resident film guru, Gav Squires.
Hello.
Hello. Absolute props to you for your jumper. That is fantastic.
Yes, making a pudding out myself yet again. As you say, right, the lineup this Christmas, there's so much good stuff to watch. Like, trying to narrow it down, just a few things to talk about today, very tricky.
Okay, so let's get straight into it.
Let's go straight into it.
So
We're starting with Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul.
Feathers McGraw, you have been found guilty of the attempted robbery of the Blue Diamond. If not for two upstanding citizens, you would have succeeded in your wicked plan.
Gromit, how's my favorite pooch? Another great day of inventing beckons. Wait till you see the next thing I'm working on. A smart...
Right then.
Christmas, yes, bad news, terrible news. Feathers McGraw, the villain from The Wrong Trousers, is back. And this time he's trying to hack into Wallace's new invention, which is a robotic gnome. Just what you need at Christmas, right? So yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since we've had any new Wallace and Gromit. I think 16 years since it's been back on the BBC. This is on Christmas Day. And there's just something magical about sitting down to watch Wallace and Gromit on Christmas Day, because it's just perfect for the whole family. It's one of those things that everyone can enjoy, you know, and I just genuinely love the fact that someone is still spending the time to hand make this sort of animation. Because you see all this stuff at the moment about AI and what computer modelling can do and all the CGI and stuff, but no, they are still literally spending thousands and thousands of hours painstakingly moving Wallace and Gromit very slowly to make this. And it's an 18-minute episode. You stop and think how long that took them to make. It just completely boggles the mind. But I love the fact you can still see all the thumbprints and the fingerprints in the clay. It's great.
Is it? Fingers crossed. Is it good? How many stars?
I've not seen this yet. I can't wait to watch it. Really excited. It's going to be a 5. It's Wallace and Gromit. It's always great.
I was going to say preemptive 5 stars.
Preemptive 5.
What is up next?
Next we have Nosferatu.
I've never shared my secret with any soul.
You've had these spells since childhood. Tell me what you can from the beginning.
It is like a dream. It was our wedding. When we turned around, everyone was dead.
I love a Christmas movie.
Well, this is slightly different to Wallace and Gromit. This is a horror film, so a remake of the classic 1922 vampire film. Now, back in the 20s, Nosferatu, the original, was considered to be so similar to Dracula that the Stoker family tried to have every copy destroyed. And here we are in 2024, where Robert Eggers, the director, this is his passion project. He's wanted to make this film for a long time, and you kind of know what you're getting with him. He makes stuff that looks fantastic, incredibly stylized. It's got a Skarsgård in, same as most of his films. It's got Willem Dafoe in, who's great in everything. So if you are looking for something just a little bit dark, a little bit twisted, a little bit different this Christmas, this is on at the cinema.
Okay. What do you reckon, star-wise?
Absolutely love this. I think Robert Eggers is a fantastic director. I love The Northman, love The Lighthouse. This is 4 out of 5 for me.
Ooh, high praise indeed. And what's the icing on the Christmas cake?
And finally, again, to be maybe not quite as cheery as Wallace and Gromit, we're looking at the new season of Squid Game.
One more and I'll have enough to pay off all my debts.
Why come back now and risk your life all over again?
What I want is to stop the game once and for all.
One more game!
The ones who built this whole place.
Wow.
So yes, the new season finally here. So Squid Game was the kind of the biggest ever Korean TV show, one of the biggest shows in the history of Netflix. If you didn't see season 1, it was basically kind of like a game show where people competed to win an amazing amount of money, but if you didn't win, you died. Not great. So it's finally back. I think this is one of the most sort of highly anticipated shows on Netflix, along with next year when we're finally getting the finale of Stranger Things. Super excited about this. This drops on Boxing Day. So if you've kind of had enough of the family and pretending to be friends with people, just sit down, watch this, watch a bit of violence, and enjoy the new season of Squid Game.
How many stars can you give that?
Loving Squid Game. Another 4 out of 5.
Wow.
Big week.
Now, I wish we had more time because I would debate with you whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas film, but we've run out of time. So have a fantastic Christmas.
Thank you very much. And we all know the answer anyway.
Yeah, we do. It's not. Right, thanks, Gav. Moving on, as we discussed earlier, it's a big weekend of football for Forest, County and Stags. They're preparing for a busy festive period. This week on Team Talk, Mark Shardlow and Charlie McParland were joined by ex-Reds and Pies player Kelvin Wilson, as well as Stags goalkeeping coach Seamus McDonough, to predict Forest trip to Brentford, County's home match with Bradford and Mansfield's game against Rotherham.
Time now for your weekend predictions, starting off with Forest, who are travelling to Brentford, 3 o'clock on Saturday.
Actually, Brentford have to lose at home at some stage. Sometimes you go with the law of averages. And Forest have, I think that I'm going to go for a Forest win. I'm sticking my neck out and I'm going to go for a Forest win.
Same. I think Forest are going to break their, yeah.
I'll take a draw. But the unbeaten draw, like Charlie says, it doesn't stay all like that all the time. It's Christmas, coming up to Christmas, They might just be off.
Let's see. Home games then for Mansfield Town and Notts County. Mansfield Town against Rotherham.
I'm going to go for a home win, get back on the track.
Yeah, home win, Steve Evans going back, so I think it'll be a good atmosphere, but I think Mansfield will win.
It'll be tough, a draw. I think it'll be a draw.
Right, time for another look at your picture of the day. Mike Beard sent this Nottingham Castle shot. It's gorgeous. Your weather is not gorgeous though. Dry tonight, dropping to 6 degrees, and it is going to be mixed Saturday and Sunday. Bit of rain really, highs of 11 tomorrow, and then on Sunday just highs of 5 degrees. It's going to be very windy as well. Don't think it's going to be that white Christmas. Right, that's the end of it for today. Thank you for being with me. Emma Coldwell will be back with you on Monday. I will see you after Christmas. So from myself and from Gav, have a good weekend and Merry Christmas.